The Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer. He joins us on our guest line. Stranger Things, Mr. Proft. Happy Halloween.
Oh, yeah. Happy Halloween, Mike. Good to be with you.
Great.
We're a base camp for Stranger Things in Chicagoland.
Whew, are you ever? And Oak Park is no exception. I want to introduce our audience to one of the fine residents of Oak Park, Illinois. I think you're the one that this person is blaming. I played the clip of this banshee, Susan Buchanan, telling the fellow trustees to shut up because their opinions don't matter on diversity because they're white. And I really think this is an important issue because it's a bit of a microcosm in terms of what we're experiencing nationally. But let's listen to this unidentified Oak Park resident blaming Maroney, one of the dreaded white men, on the Oak Park, Illinois Board of Trustees. Cut 2 from Grabian.
I'm here holding Mr. Maroney responsible for his choices after hearing him on a recent podcast with a hate talk radio host, not to mention his CBS interview. He didn't use those as opportunities to advocate for equity or demonstrate that he understands the urgency of it. What he did is volunteer himself as a martyr in a free speech narrative, and he positioned himself as our community priority. By overreacting in this way to what was a moment of personal discomfort, Mr. Maroney not only pulled focus away from topics of community importance, but he dangerously escalated a situation which now finds Oak Park targeted by white supremacists. We are less safe after the Maroney media tour.
Dan Proft, I do believe that the hate talk radio host she's referring to would be you. How do you plead?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, white supremacist, hate talk radio. They're less safe because one of their trustees did media interviews with our show in Chicago and CBS. CBS apparently was fine. Our show was not fine, even though it was a perfectly reasonable interview because he's a perfectly reasonable guy who believes that just because you're white and male doesn't mean you should not be allowed to speak on topics as so determined by Susan Buchanan and the other Marxists on the board of Oak Park. But just to take a step back, you have to understand Oak Park for your national audience, Mike. I mean, this is a community that's still not gotten over the fall of the Soviet Union. They literally, during the Reagan era, passed a resolution declaring Oak Park a nuclear-free zone in response to Reagan's peace through strength military buildup. So there's a long history that goes back to Hemingway and fast forwards to Susan Buchanan and some of these other people who are just intolerant of dissent, as you heard.
I'll bet there's a lot of Che Guevara T-shirts being worn in Oak Park, Illinois. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and complimented by Birkenstocks. That's right.
But I mean, the truth is, this does sort of show what we're up against nationally. I mean, let's look at the subject for a moment about. I mean, we can call this Susan Buchanan the clown, whatever you want. I mean, she's angry and she's raging and she doesn't think anybody's voice matters but hers because that's sort of the way the left looks at things. Nobody matters except their voice. The only opinion that matters is theirs. But this tactic of calling conservatives hate speech, now that's a fascinating thing. Look at the things they say about President Trump, about conservatives. He's Hitler, he's a monster, he's this, he's that, he should be arrested, he should be shot. They have assassination scenarios. They say some of the most vile things imaginable to people on our side. But, man, if you're a conservative on the radio with a very successful show like the Dan and Amy show on AM 560, The Answer, you're a hate speech host. I mean,
well, and it's worth noting. We invited, there's a trustee on the village board who also attacked Ann Maroney, who calls herself the Oak Park's AOC. We invited her to come on the show to respond. We invited Buchanan. We invited a columnist who called me a white supremacist to come on the show. None of them wanted to come on the show, Mike, because they don't want to engage. You know, their cover story for not willingly debating the issues on the merits is to just say, by coming on your show, we're platforming hate, and so we can't even acknowledge you. You must be dismissed out of hand because you disagree with us, therefore you're hateful because, of course, we're virtuous. I mean, it's really a totalitarian mindset, and you're right. It should be confronted straight away. Just one other quick thing on Oak Park. The mayor of Oak Park is a Palestinian American.
I know.
And Susan Buchanan also said to him,
his skin isn't white
just a
enough.
White guy. Yeah, he's basically white. He's not brown enough. I mean, it's
your
remarkable.
skin's white enough that you should shut up too, Mayor from Palestine. I mean, from the Gaza Strip, right? Anan Abu Taleb. She's yelling at Anan Abu Taleb. Your skin is white enough, so shut up. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, but Dan, let me go back to Dan Profta is our guest. He's the host of the Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer, and honestly, one of the smartest voices in the room. I mean, I listen to you guys all the time on the app, and so proud to be on your team and come on your station after you guys. Dan, this process of shutting down conservatism by labeling it hate speech, it's a pretty nefarious, but it's a shrewd, sophisticated formula. This is what they're trying to do on college campuses. This is why they try to shut down PragerU or Dennis Prager or Ben Shapiro or any of us. This is why, they because it is a totalitarian kind of a process or principle. Our voice is the only one that gets to be heard. We're not going to ever introduce conservative voices, and it's kind of brilliant when you think about it, because it's a bullying tactic in a way that does stifle and does silence opposing speech.
Yeah, I mean, it's enforcing an orthodoxy of opinion. That's what it is. Again, you don't have to engage on the merits. They're not legitimate people, and they don't have legitimate views, so you can dismiss them out of hand. Right. And this is a way where they don't have to confront it. And look, a lot of people do get back down when they're called names, particularly you suffer from one of the isms or phobias. People then get defensive. No, I'm not. I'm this and I'm that, and they sort of lose the argument.
Nobody wants to be called Dan. I've known you for a long time. You're a good guy. We can laugh about being called a white supremacist, but it's not comfortable. It's not a place anybody wants to be, and they know it. That's why they do it.
Right, and frankly, going back to what you were talking about with Trump, that's why they hate Trump so much, is because he will not defer to them. He comes over the top. He will not back down in the face of their, hate. And this is frankly a lesson that more conservatives need to learn. You got to be willing to stand up to it, because otherwise they will enforce that orthodoxy of opinion, as you see. I mean, the ironic thing at Oak Park, what was that debate about? It was about a diversity statement. You're having a debate about a diversity statement in a village, and you're shutting up people that have opposing viewpoints.
Let that sink in. Well, look at Antifa. They're supposed to be anti-fascist, and they're engaged in some of the most fascistic behavior imaginable. They hit people over the head. They exert violence over people. They're shutting people down. They're trying to intimidate people into not being heard. But again, it's pretty brilliant. They're hiding behind, you're guilty of hate speech, so therefore you can't be heard. You don't have. Let me tell you a little anecdotal thing about New York City. There's a beloved bookstore in New York. Maybe you've heard of it, called The Strand. And I like to go. It's amazing. It's like 3 stories tall. It's this historic, gigantic bookstore. And Dan, they got books from all walks of life, right? All kinds of diversity. And it's New York City. I get it, right? Go through the thousands and thousands. I think they brag they have like 22 miles worth of books or something. Good luck finding one conservative thinker on any of the shelves. And it hit me a couple weeks ago. I thought, what idiocy. I mean, and I'm sure the owners are proud of that, because it's New York and they're very proud. But why don't you want to offer true diversity? Why don't you want to introduce alternate ways of thinking? It's because they're afraid of us. They know that there's a lot of normal people, even in New York City, who have a conservative ideology, and they just don't want to let that voice be heard, Dan.
Yeah, look, I mean, they're steamrollers. I mean, I go back to one of my favorite opinions in Supreme Court jurisprudence, Justice Robert Jackson in the West Virginia versus Barnett case, which is a freedom of expression case. And he said, enforced orthodoxy of opinion achieves only the unanimity of the graveyard. I mean, he saw how dangerous enforcing enforcing orthodoxy of opinion was when it comes at the hands of the state. And these people, whether it's on a college campus or whether it's in the greater civil society, want to use the machinery of power to silence and steamroll over other people. and people need to understand that.
Of course they do. And let's pivot into what's happening right now. Today on Capitol Hill, the House voting on this goofy impeachment inquiry. They tried with the Russia
It's not
collusion
an impeachment
thing.
inquiry.
It's not. Tell me what it is.
No, I mean, I'm just parroting Nancy Pelosi.
Well, I don't know what it is. I mean, listen,
Right.
I'm as baffled as where they are. I keep saying impeach him already. Are you going to, please, would you stop the foreplay and just do it? Go ahead and impeach him. Get it over with so that the Republicans can acquit him. He'll, I presume, emerge the kind of rock star that Bill Clinton will is as he went through this process. But Dan, it's the same. It's the same way of doing things. Let's figure out a way to stop this reelection. He's very well going to get reelected. Finally, a poll comes out, USA Today Suffolk poll just this morning. Trump beats any Democrat challenger 41-39%. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. I believe the polls, but I know most of the polls show him losing to any Democrat, including Ronald McDonald, who goes up against him. But that's the same strategy. Try any steamrolling effect we can in order to try to achieve our objective.
Yeah, rig the process. But here's the thing, and here's the problem they have, and they're trying to paper over it with a resolution like today. The problem they have is that American people have an innate sense of fair play. And even if it's targeted, the attack is targeted at somebody they don't like the lack of due process, the lack of substantive justice as well as procedural justice. They don't like people not getting a fair shake.
Right.
And what's coming across loud and clear is Trump is not getting a fair shake from Pelosi, Schiff, and these Star Chamber proceedings.
Normal people, regardless of what your political ideology is, don't like seeing a rigged system. They just don't like to see the system rigged. This has not been a democratic process. This has not been open and transparent. So I'm tired of the noise and the debating about what we've done up till now. I just wish they would do it already, and I'm dead serious. Get it over with, because the American people deserve to get to a resolution of some kind. But it's like everything else. 3 years this crap has hung over this guy's head. It's hung over his head since the day he came down the escalator and announced he was going to run for president.
The good news is that they're their own worst enemies. And look, people pick up that you're hiding something. They may not. There may be a lot of people that don't like Trump or don't trust Trump, but that doesn't mean they like or trust the Democrats either. And so when you behave in a surreptitious way, like they are behaving with respect to something as important, as momentous as trying to remove a president from office, it's just not going to fly. And you see that already in some of the swing state polling. And this is why Nancy Pelosi has put up this sort of Trojan horse resolution today.
Good work on the Oak Park stuff, and of course, that's to be expected from the great Dan Proft. Keep fighting the good fight, Dan, and I'm glad you could spend a few minutes with us visiting on the Mike Gallagher Show. Our audience appreciates it very much, as do I.
Mike, my pleasure as always. Thank you so much.
Take care. 13 minutes before the hour.